Welcome back to our episode. Ryan here with Chaos MMA. And today we have on Austen Lane, who just got a recent win on Dana White's Contender Series and is now signed to the UFC. Austin, man, how are you doing?
I'm pretty casual right now, man. Just got done training. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I mean, how have you been enjoying life though after the win? Like you got your back in training, you just said. How
Yeah.
what was life after the fight though, before you got back in training?
Life was pretty much the same, man. I saw my morning show. I do a radio show here in Jacksonville. So that didn't change at all. Still get up at 5 o'clock in the morning every single day. Nothing really changed, man. That's kind of the way I like it. There wasn't really a lot of time to celebrate because it's just the next chapter. There's still a lot that I wanted to accomplish in this sport. So it was just kind of, enjoy that Tuesday night when I won, and then go back to work the next day. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I want to talk about the fight and what's after that. But since you just mentioned it, your show, I gotta tell you, 3 years ago or 2 years ago, I called on your show with Brett and yourself. I'm a Jaguars fan.
Oh, right on, man.
I'm
Cool,
a
cool.
Jaguars fan, so
Yeah.
I called on. I was complaining about the Minshew Foles debate. It was a whole thing. I remember I that
I remember you, man.
yeah
Damn, it's a small world.
yeah.
Okay.
What a world we live in. But here we are now
Yeah.
interviewing too. But I want to talk about the Jags later. But speaking
Cool.
of your fighting and everything else, you're
Yeah.
back in training. Have you
Yeah.
worked on anything new after the fight since like
Yeah.
you want to improve on and stuff?
Yeah. Yeah. So, obviously, you always have to improve. I think the biggest thing now going forward is, managing that distance a little bit.
Okay.
If you go back to that fight, I've only seen it once, but I got a pretty good memory of how exactly that fight went down and everything. I threw a switch step front kick, and the reason I threw that was because I was trying to set him up for a switch step to a 1-2.
Yeah.
So I threw this switch step high kick. It lands exactly what I wanted. I throw the switch step again, try to go the 1-2 with it, and at this exact same time, he was throwing a front high kick as well, and that's what we knew he was going to throw. So when he threw that front high kick, I'm like, all right, well, he's not going to hit me. We're all good there, but I'm also not going to land on that. So it was my instinct, instead of saying, okay, I'm not going to engage here, I try to go downhill, and try to get his chin. And in doing that, he got the double underhooks. I tried to go for a throw. He did a great job of countering that, and then he took me down. So I think just those spots right there, in terms of the engagement, in terms of not letting my opponent get double underhooks, and then in terms of if he does get double underhooks, don't try to go for a throw, find a different counter.
Yeah.
Those are the things I can get better going forward. As far as the whole ground game, jiu-jitsu game, I felt pretty comfortable off my back. You never want to be there, especially in heavyweight, because all it takes is one shot, and you can go to sleep. But I felt very comfortable there. I got the reversal, finished the fight, so I was happy with that. But obviously, just those transitions from the feet to the ground, it's something I'm always working on.
Yeah, I mean, I know you want your ground game to improve. I remember you saying that in an interview, and in the fight, it looked good. I mean, your ground game did look good. It looked definitely improved, and I know you're probably happy about that. It's going to get better each time. But
Yeah.
you're walking out for this fight. How are you feeling? Are you nervous at all? Like, what were the emotions like walking out?
No, I was every fight's different. And I found like my last 4 or 5 fights where I've kind of changed my whole mindset a little bit. Like I used to like blast music, and put myself in this mindset where it's like me against the world, right? And I have to prove people wrong and everyone wants me to lose. And it's just kind of like I don't want to say like it was an emotion of like hate or anything, but it was an emotion of like, all right, I got to show the world what I can do. But my last 4 or 5 fights, it's just all right. So I put all the work in. It's done. Now let's go have some fun. So I stopped approaching it as like, all right, I got to go out here and dismantle my opponent, put on a good show. And it's more of like, all right, it's a cage, right? I mean, I train on the mats every single day. This is it's a brand new playground for me to play in. Let's go have some fun. So I entered the cage. I was calm. I was collected. I was smiling and everything. And that's kind of how I'm approaching my mindset now, where it's just I'm not looking for anything. I let the opportunities present itself, whether it's a knockout, whether it's a submission, but I don't go chasing anything. I let it come to me. And then some fighters want to call it the flow. Some fighters want to call it going to the matrix. Whatever you call it, there's a sense of calm and a sense of ease now when I walk in that cage, and I love it.
Yeah, is it kind of like you trained for this? You know you can beat him. You know you have the right game plan to do it, and now it's just let's get in there and show it and do
Yeah,
it.
yeah, that's exactly what it is. Every fighter is different. There's some fighters who probably don't train to their maximum potential, and they can lie to themselves, go in the cage, and say, "I'm still going to win this fight."
Yeah.
I can't do that. I have to do everything in my power. That said, I have zero regrets of how I handled this training camp. I put all the work in that I could. So what am I worried about? Like all the hard work is done. Now let's go have some fun. So that's how I approach it. But obviously, that's earned on the mats in the gym. That's earned with rounds and rounds and rounds of sparring, of rounds and rounds of cardio. I always say there's a fine line between confidence and cockiness. And I think confidence is ingrained in the hard work, the dedication. I think cockiness comes when you have a false bravado of how much work you really did or did not put in. And that's where cockiness comes in. So you better believe when I walk in that cage, man, I'm always confident.
No, I agree with that statement you just said. It honestly is really true. But you walk into the cage, the fight starts, it's going your way, you are edging the fight, but then
Yeah.
the groin shot happens and he's down on
Yeah.
the ground. Were you nervous at all that this fight was going to be stopped and like that he wasn't going to get back up, or were you like, oh, I
Oh,
know he's getting back up?
oh no, absolutely. Because it was weird, right? So when obviously I was going for that low leg kick, and when you go with that front low leg kick, you got to be quick with it, just because if you're not, you're gonna leave yourself open for a counter, right? And he's a great counter puncher. So I thought, all right, let's go the low leg kick here. Let's get this off fast because I know he's got that check hook waiting for me. I've seen it on film a million times. I've studied him so much. So I throw that. He steps in. I hit the groin, and it was a weird shot because when I hit him, I didn't feel the cup. Like I didn't feel like a metal cup. So I was like, all right, well that really hit him or not? And then the reaction, obviously I did hit him. And my immediate reaction when he started screaming was, oh, this fight's gonna be over. And I just blew him another opportunity. So as I'm walking, to the side of the cage, the ref separates us and everything. I put my arm kind of on the cage. And I'm like, shit, I just blew my opportunity. And that's gonna be it. And now I got to figure out how I have to get back here again. I think like a minute 50 passed and he stood back up and he was ready to go, which I was super surprised about. In that cage, we get 5 minutes of recovery time, whether it's an eye poke or a groin strike. And it's funny because my first fight in the Contender Series against Greg Hardy, I got poked in the eye. And when you get poked in the eye or you get hit in the groin, time just slows down, right? Like I think I took about 30 seconds to recover. And like I thought it was like 5 minutes already, So time definitely slows down when you're going through an injury like that. You're going through like some adversity. So when he was at a minute 30, I'm like, oh, really? He's good to go again? I'm like, all right, let's do this. But I thought he was taking the full 5 minutes. But then I guess he was good enough ready to roll, and then we're back at it again.
I mean, and when he gets up though, like how like is it just like a breath of fresh air? Like yet, like he got up, like I can still end this fight, I can still get this contract. Like, is that what
Yeah,
you're feeling?
there's definitely a sigh of relief, and just a feeling of all right, now we're back. Now it's time to lock in again. And that's something that like my coach did a great job of doing. Is like, hey, stay focused, stay focused. There was an accident, just stay focused. Stay loose and everything, which I did. And then it was off to the races from there again.
Yeah, off to the races. You
Yeah,
get the ground and pound win in round one. You go backstage. Dana White pulls the paper up. He talks about your fight. He says you're in the UFC.
yeah.
What is that feeling like?
It was. It's really hard to put into words.
Yeah,
And I think to explain it, you'd have to see my reaction after I got my TKO. Um, I've had a lot of great sports moments in my life. I mean, getting drafted to the Jacksonville Jaguars, as you know, was definitely a big moment in my life. And, we celebrated. It was a dream since I was a little kid to play in the NFL, and we partied and we tapped the keg and everything. And it was a celebration. Now that I'm 34 years old and I'm a little more mature, and sorry about that. My phone just kind of died. We still there? Okay, cool,
yeah, I'm
cool.
still here. I'm still here.
Sorry, man. All right, so 34 years old, and I've lived a little more life. Um, I didn't really know how I was going to react when I won. Like I knew I was going to win. Obviously you have to have those self
Yeah,
talks with yourself and the visualization and everything. But when my hand got raised and everything, I fell to my knees and I took the moment all in. And I was happy that I did that because you only get so many of those moments in your life, where you sacrifice a lot. Whether it's hanging out with your friends, whether it's maybe missing some basketball games with your son, whether it's missing family time, whether it's just feeling banged up from training the night before. If you're a fighter at the highest level, there's a lot of sacrifice. There has to be, or else you will never make it in this sport. So I think me just kind of dropping to my knees and just kind of taking it all in and not really showing any kind of emotion. I was embracing the moment, and I'm happy that I did that. So to answer your question in a long-winded form, what did it feel like? It felt justified, and I just kind of reflected back on all the work, all the trials and tribulations I took to get to that moment. I embraced that moment, and then when I left that cage, I'm like, all right, hopefully I get a contract. When I get the contract, now it's on to the next one.
Yeah.
You know, because I didn't really have time to celebrate, time to dwell. Now it's like, all right, we made it to the UFC. What's the next move from there?
And is that kind of like a moment where like you're gonna go back to like down the line a couple years when you're done with the UFC, like you're outside drinking a beer or something, like
Yeah.
man, what a cool moment that was. That kind of a moment you're always gonna look back on.
I've never been one to look back.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
anything,
Yeah.
like I haven't looked back at all really in my NFL career unless somebody
Yeah.
wants to bring it up and talk to me about it. I guess the best way that I put it is one day I'm going to be fat and old, man. I'm going to be 60, 70 years old. My beard's going to be down to here. Hopefully I still have hair at that time. And I'm going to be drinking a beer and I'll be hanging out with my kids and my grandkids.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have a lot of cool shit to tell them.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a pretty cool moment. I'm not naive to the fact that I'm very fortunate to be where I'm at. I'm very fortunate that God granted me the tools to succeed, the mindset, and everything like that. So I'm not saying I'm not fortunate for all of that, but it's going to be long, long down the line when I'm older, banged up, sore, fat, and old, where I'm going to be telling my grandkids about, hey, this is what your grandpa did. Check this out. But until that time, man, we're always on to the next chapter.
Nah, always looking forward. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Great career ahead of you in the UFC. Last thing about this.
Yeah.
So, have there been any talks with the UFC about when your next fight is? I know there's something in Orlando in December. You're close
Yeah.
to that. I don't know when they're going back to Jacksonville exactly, but any talks with them about something like that?
Nothing yet. Yeah. So basically, right now, the main focus is making sure that my nose is ready to roll.
Yeah.
3 weeks before the fight, I actually broke my nose. I displaced it. My wife had to put it back into place. And then a week before, actually, it was 8 days before the fight, our last hard session of the last round. We're doing grappling, and I take an elbow to the nose and once again broke it. So my nose still a little banged up, as you can see. But I mean, I'm hoping the next couple of weeks or so, just rest that. Stay away from the sparring for the most part. But then in a couple of weeks, it's good to go. I'm back in the gym sparring again, everything like that. And then who knows, man? I'd love to fight in Orlando. That's kind of right in Jacksonville's backyard. But at the same time, I enjoy the diversity. I enjoy being in people's backyards that maybe that aren't my own, just for another cool experience, if you will. So it doesn't really matter where the fight's going to be. It can be in the United States. It can be overseas as far as I'm concerned. I'm just excited for what the future is going to bring me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure everyone excited for you, your official UFC debut. I'm sure it's going to be an amazing moment for yourself, like we're saying. Can't
Yeah.
wait. Tune in for his next fight. But I got to bring up the Jacksonville Jaguars. I got to bring them up.
Let's go. Yeah,
I'm a
yeah.
diehard fan. I've been for a while now. I'm feeling good right now. Doug Peterson is making me excited. This offense is looking good. Last week with the fumbles and everything, rain game, I know it didn't look great, but what are your
Yeah.
thoughts on the team this year? You think they could do something?
Man, well, they've already achieved for them expectations were for them this year. I mean, obviously you follow the team closely. You know what's up. Coming off of last year with Urban Meyer, and just how that whole debacle went down, right? It was a nightmare. You kind of lost the locker room.
Yeah.
Didn't really see good performances in the field and everything. So when that occurred and he left, and all right, you bring in Doug Peterson, I thought for sure it's like, okay. I mean, Doug Peterson, who actually played for in Kansas City, fantastic coach, offensive minded, oriented, going to help Trevor Lawrence out a lot. But my expectations were it's going to take some time to rebuild what Urban Meyer kind of knocked down. And we literally saw in like 2 games, it was already rebuilt. So it was very refreshing, And I think that the game that sticks out to me so far in the season, and granted, it's still a young season, so we'll, you go to Washington, you lose that game, the missed field goals, you can't win it, and Trevor, has a mishap. It's like we've seen this team before. Here we go again. Okay. And then Indianapolis comes to town. It's like, all right, for whatever reason, Indianapolis is absolutely cursed when it comes to playing the Jaguars in Jacksonville. So I'm thinking, okay, well, that was expected. They didn't do that well. They stopped Jonathan Taylor. But still, like, is this team the real deal or not? You go to Los Angeles on the West Coast, east to west, and you absolutely curb stomp the Chargers. And you did so in a way where you won all 3 phases of the game. Special teams, defense, and offense. You won all 3 phases. That game was like, oh, this team's different. We're not accustomed to seeing these Jaguars right here. This is a different team than we've seen in the past, 3 or 4 years. So like they definitely got my attention in that. And then you go to Philadelphia, another tough place to play, tough weather. You go up 14-0. I'm thinking it's gonna be blowout. I'm like, do I get my tickets now to Arizona for the Super Bowl, or what am I doing, man? Like, I don't know what to even do anymore. Unfortunately, Trevor has his turnovers, and it is what it is from there. But there's a lot to like about this team, and it's still a young team. Trayvon Walker, I feel like, has really stepped up right away. Lloyd's obviously stepped up at the linebacker position. I think Trevor is improving, which is good to see as well. James Robinson, just keep giving him the ball, and it's going to be okay. There's a lot to like about this team, and I think they're only going to get better. And keep in mind, this is Doug Peterson. What, he's through the first quarter of the NFL season with this team. Give him some time to really get his hands on it. Give Trevor Lawrence some time to really learn the playbook, and then let's see what we got. But I'm happy Doug Peterson's here. I'm a big believer in him. I love the team that they got. I like how if they lose, they're pissed off and they're ready to work and redeem themselves. There's a lot to like right now if you're a Jaguars fan. Like if Jaguars were stock right now, you better be buying, man, because this bandwagon's leaving
Going
pretty
up.
soon.
It's going up. It's going up. I mean, I love what Doug's doing. Mike Caldwell with the defense, what he's done with that defense, like they're balling right now. I mean, someone tweeted, I saw a tweet. In previous years, a game like the Eagles, if they had that many turnovers, they're getting blown out. But that defense, they kept them in the game. Like, what is that? Like, how crazy is that, though? Something like that. But hopefully it's a great year for them. Hopefully we get to see them in the playoffs again. It'd be amazing to see. But for you, thanks again for your time. Looking forward to the UFC debut. Do you want to thank any sponsors, shout out any social media, man? The floor is yours.
Oh man, yeah. As far as sponsors, man, I just want to thank Duval, man. Thanks for always having my back. You guys kind of adopted me as one of your own. I appreciate it. I always got love for Duval. If you're interested in pop culture and morning talk radio, Megan and Austen in the morning, 95.1 WAPE. We do that from 6 till 10. I'm having fun with that as well. As far as social media, I'm pretty low key, but I am on Twitter, A_train_92, or just type in my name, you'll find it, man. And no, I appreciate the time. It's good to talk to another former Jaguars fan as yourself, man. I remember you calling in that one day, so it's good to see you again. And you just keep doing your thing, man. It's cool to see.
I appreciate calling back from the bad times to the good times, hopefully now. And in a few months when we catch up again, playoffs. I'm calling it now. Playoff season.
Nothing but good times, man. I love that.
Nothing but good times ahead. Cool. Once again, thanks again for your time. Catch up, man. See you later.
Take it easy. Stay casual. I'll see you later.